Welcome to Greycap Knits. Today I'm going to be showing you how to block socks without sock blockers. So the first thing you're going to need is a medium-sized bowl with just a splash of wool wash. I use a brand called Eucalyne. You just want to make sure that you're not using anything that will strip the lanolin from your woolens, like Woolite for example, so make sure you look for something that's safe for wool. Now what you'll want to do is add some room temperature water. You just want to make sure it's not too hot and not too cold because that can shock the fibers and cause them to felt. Then I usually like to give my water a little swish just to activate the soap. And finally, you're just going to gently press your socks down into the bottom of the bowl. You'll notice air bubbles being released, and you just want to hold it down long enough that most of the air escapes from the socks. Wool is very hydrophobic, so it can be a little tough to get it to soak in at first. It's okay to give it some gentle squeezes and gentle pressing, but nothing too rough. Once most of the air has been released, you can go ahead and leave your socks to soak. I usually let mine soak for about 10 minutes. Once they've finished soaking, you can take them out of the water and gently squeeze them out. Try to avoid wringing them or stretching them, as this can distort the socks, and too much wringing can also make them felt. Of course, most sock yarn is superwash, and it usually has some sort of nylon or other synthetic fiber to make them easily washable and resistant to felting, but I always like to be extra careful, just in case. Once you've finished squeezing the excess water out of your socks, it's time for the towel treatment. What you're going to want to do is use an old towel and just lay it down on the floor. Place your socks inside of the towel and then roll them up into a little log. Now for the fun part. Once your log is rolled, you can go ahead and step on it. This step helps to force any excess water out of the socks and into the towel. When you're finished, just unroll your socks and place them on your blocking mat. Now you don't need anything fancy for a blocking mat. I just use an old cheap yoga mat from Walmart. You really just want anything that will allow the water to evaporate from underneath the socks. I wouldn't recommend placing them on a towel because towels will hold the moisture and it can give things like a musty smell after blocking. So just put it on something like a yoga mat, a camping mat, or just regular old blocking mats. Another fancy knitting tool that you can get away without is actually sock blockers. I have not been able to find a pair of sock blockers in my own size, and so I've just gotten used to pinning them. You just want to try and use straight pins that are rust resistant because you're going to leave these to dry for at least a day or two. And once I've patted the socks into shape, I just carefully pin around the border of the sock, working it into the shape that I want it to be. I'm just going to speed this section up because it's kind of slow and boring, but I still wanted to leave it in the video so that you can see how I kind of work the socks and pat them into place before pinning them. Also, sorry if you can hear weird knocking in the background. There's definitely a skunk living under my house. I've named him Hephaestus and we're cohabitating peacefully. Fortunately, he's only sprayed under the house one time, so mostly he just smells like sesame seed oil. Anyways, back to knitting. Once you've completed your first sock, you'll do the same to the second, and then you can just leave them out to dry for a couple of days. So there you have it. Hope this tutorial helped with your knitting adventures.